And nowhere in that report, nowhere, does it mention £22 billion.
Now, if you've been following the news recently, you'll probably recall seeing something like this in the political coverage. A Treasury source saying there's an eye-watering black hole in the public finances. It's going to be rough. The truth is that everyone's going to have to contribute more in tax if we're going to maintain public...
£22 billion missing from the UK's coffers.
Black hole. Well, let's go back to first principles over the next few years. And what changed in the last few months? Well, you had the mini-budget. Well, it isn't rising, it's falling because of lower debt interest costs. And also, on top of that, they have started the work of filling the gap.
It sounds like the plot of a Hollywood heist movie. But this isn't fiction. It's the stark reality facing British taxpayers today. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Who's responsible for this financial black hole?
That around 4,000 elderly people might die. Well, Labour initially claimed that they hadn't done a new one. Starmer even said this: "There isn't a report on my desk, which somehow we're not sure."
Is it Conservative mismanagement, Labour's selective memory, or something far more insidious? Prepare to have your assumptions challenged as we unravel this financial whodunit. Rachel Reeves stands at the dispatch box, her face etched with concern. But is this genuine shock or a carefully choreographed performance? Labour's claim of inheriting a £22 billion black hole from the Conservatives has set Westminster abuzz. But what does this astronomical figure actually represent? The Institute for Fiscal Studies has thrown a spanner in the works, suggesting that some of these financial pressures were entirely predictable. So why the sudden alarm bells? It's time to peel back the layers of this fiscal onion and see what's really making our eyes water. Let's break down this £22 billion figure, shall we? A whopping £9.4 billion is earmarked for public sector pay awards. Hold on a minute, isn't that a Labour decision? It seems a bit rich to blame the Tories for a financial commitment made by the current government. It's like ordering a round of drinks at the pub and then complaining about the bill. Then there's the thorny issue of asylum system costs, a genuine surprise or a convenient scapegoat. The sudden inflation of these expenses raises eyebrows. It's as if Labour has discovered a magic wardrobe full of unexpected bills, conveniently timed to justify their economic U-turns. But here's the kicker. If some of these costs were known, why weren't they accounted for in Labour's pre-election promises? It's like promising to buy a house without checking your bank balance first. The cynic in me wonders if this black hole is less about Conservative mismanagement and more about Labour's selective memory and political manoeuvring. Let's not mince words here. This financial revelation reeks of political theatre. It's a classic move from the opposition playbook. Inherit a mess, cry foul, and then use it as a get-out-of-jail-free card for your own policy shifts. But is Labour really as shocked as they claim to be? The timing is certainly convenient. Just as the public starts asking uncomfortable questions about Labour's economic plans, they pull this £22 billion rabbit out of the hat. It's a neat distraction from their own financial juggling act. But before we let the Tories off the hook, let's remember that this story has more twists than a pretzel factory. The Conservatives aren't innocent bystanders in this fiscal drama. Their economic record is far from spotless, and there are serious questions to be answered about their financial stewardship. Jeremy Hunt's choice of words is telling. When he called the £22 billion figure a political device, was he inadvertently admitting to some clever accounting of his own? It's time to dig deeper into the Tory side of this fiscal facade. The Conservative Party's reluctance to publish further information about these figures is raising more than just eyebrows. It's setting off alarm bells. What are they so desperate to hide? The lack of a spending review since 2021 is particularly troubling. This crucial financial assessment, typically conducted every few years, provides a comprehensive overview of government spending and future plans. Its absence leaves a gaping hole in our understanding of the nation's fiscal health. But the plot thickens. The Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, has expressed concerns about transparency and credibility in government spending forecasts. This isn't just a minor quibble, it's a damning indictment of conservative financial management. When an independent watchdog starts questioning the reliability of your numbers, you know you're in hot water. Perhaps the most alarming revelation is the £9.5 billion of additional spending pressures known to the Treasury but not disclosed to the OBR. This isn't just an oversight, it's a deliberate omission. Why would the Conservatives keep such a significant sum under wraps? It's as if they've been using invisible ink in the nation's checkbook. The timing of all this is suspicious, to say the least. If the Conservatives knew about these pressures, why didn't they address them before the election? It's hard not to see this as a cynical attempt to paint a rosier picture of the UK's finances than reality warranted. After all, it's much easier to win votes when you're not admitting to a multi-billion-pound shortfall. The implications are stark. The Tories' approach to public finances wasn't just negligent, it was potentially misleading. They've played fast and loose with the numbers, leaving the incoming government to deal with the fallout. It's like leaving a ticking time bomb in the Treasury and then complaining when it goes off on someone else's watch. But let's not be too hasty in absolving Labour of all blame. While the Conservatives' financial shenanigans are certainly worrying, we must remember that politics is rarely black and white. Both parties have a history of massaging figures to suit their narratives. The £22 billion black hole might be convenient for Labour now, but it's worth questioning whether they would have been so quick to highlight it if they were still in opposition. As we've peeled back the layers of this financial onion, it's clear that the £22 billion black hole isn't just about numbers, it's a masterclass in political sleight of hand. Both Labour and the Conservatives are playing fast and loose with public finances, treating them like a political football to be kicked around for their own gain. It's a game where the rules change depending on who's in power, and the real losers are the British public. This financial theatre exposes a rot at the core of British politics. We've seen Labour dramatically unveil a crisis they conveniently forgot to mention before the election, while the Tories have been caught red-handed hiding billions from scrutiny. It's a damning indictment of a system where transparency is treated as an inconvenience and honest accounting is as rare as a politician keeping their promises. As voters, we must demand better. We need to see through the smoke and mirrors, challenge the narratives spoon-fed to us by both sides, and insist on genuine solutions to our financial challenges. The next time a politician tries to dazzle us with big numbers or scare us with tales of fiscal woe, we should be asking, what aren't you telling us? And more importantly, why?